In that particular moment, the shape of my eyes happened to be the key feature. I thought if I could hide it, then I could blend in. And it's a really embarrassing uh, moment for me to have had, but I want to share it because um, I need to have processed what that was like as a teenager. You know, I'm very proud of my Chinese heritage. I'm very proud of who I am and where I've come from.
Hi, Melissa. Kia ora. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this today at Capsule, well, at our homes.
Kia ora, thank you so much for having me.
Here at Capsule, we encourage mental health conversations by simply checking in with each other. So, Melissa, I wanted to ask, how are you today?
I'm actually really good today. Yeah, it's been hit the ground running kind of year, and last week was just like the craziest of weeks yet to date. And I've just taken some time over the weekend to decompress and to do all of the things that I know are good for me to kind of get back to being grounded again. And so I'm feeling really good this week. How about you?
I've also just recovered from a recent bout of burnout. So, I would say I've probably felt really good the past 2 weeks. I feel like I'm finally getting back into the rhythm while also honoring, I guess, like you said, finding those ways to decompress to make it sustainable.
You need to take it slow and you need to be kind to yourself. You know, there's no, like you said, I think sustainable has been the word that has become top of mind, especially when you do hit a point of burnout or just a point of extreme fatigue, is that you cannot make it sustainable if you don't build practices in to your everyday life that will allow you to keep going.
And I'd love to talk more about that as well, especially on how you keep things sustainable in your life now, because obviously in your book, Guts, you spoke, which took a lot of guts, honestly, in terms of how you spoke about such difficult experiences in your life around, racism and representation and domestic violence and rape and divorce and your bouts
All
of,
the hits.
I know, I'm like saying it right now and I'm like, whoa, like that's so heavy. How did you take care of yourself throughout writing the book?
Well, they are heavy things, but they're real things, and they're things
Mm.
that happen to all of us. And my memoir, anyone's memoir, is just a unique configuration of the things that have happened to that particular person. And so the way I've justified being in a really private person and being able to share such intense things is that if opening up, if me writing about it, if me talking about it opens up conversations for other people, then I consider that to be a win and a contribution towards us collectively moving forward and taking some of the darkness out of it by bringing these conversations into the light. So, in terms of how I took care of myself while writing it, it was not putting too much pressure on myself. I had a certain amount of words I'd like to hit in a day, and if it took me 12 hours to do that, then that's fine. If it took me 2 hours to do that, that's also fine. But I just sort of would just sit with myself and allow whatever wanted to come out that day to come out. And when it was done, I didn't push myself to go further. I could close the laptop and say, okay, I'm done now. I'm going to go and hang out with a friend or go do some exercise or any number of the other things that I do just to kind of make my life a little bit nicer.
I actually want to talk about a moment in the book that kind of stayed with me. When you were 12 in the back seat of your parents' car, and two, I guess, cute white boys were passing by, and you thought you could hide your being Asian with the sunglasses that you were wearing, and as someone who obviously relates to always feeling like you're sticking out or you don't necessarily quite belong, what's helped you find, I don't know if peace is the right term, but like what's helped your journey with it?
I think for those of us who have grown up in westernized countries and we come from the Asian diaspora, there's always been a moment in our youth where we just wish we could fit in or wish we could be I don't know, just blend in a little bit more. And for me, in that particular moment, the shape of my eyes happened to be the key feature. I thought if I could hide it, then I could blend in. And it's a really embarrassing uh, moment for me to have had, but I want to share it because um, I need to have processed what that was like as a teenager. You know, I'm very proud of my Chinese heritage. I'm very proud of who I am and where I've come from. It's given me all of the tools to live the life that I've lived. And I can only speak for living in this skin. So I've come to feel a lot more comfortable in owning that over the years. And it takes time. It's a relationship with yourself that evolves over your entire life. And I think, again, going gently with yourself and understanding that some of the reasons why we wish we blended in, I mean, it's coming from somewhere else. It's not coming from our family or our culture. Our culture isn't lesser than. We deserve to be here. But it takes a moment to realize that external pressures and external forces are foisted upon us, and it's how we grapple with that that helps us hopefully find peace with our own identity.
You spoke throughout the book, like especially in the early parts, around how a lot of first gen or 1.5 second gen kids probably experience very similar situations. And I've covered stories around Asian mental health, and I think you spoke a lot about like circumstances as well, that I guess the experiences of code switching, being othered, downplaying personal problems because of the sacrifice of our parents or the relative safety and freedom that we've been given in a new country does intersect with our well-being. So I guess the reason why I'm bringing this up is because there is that intersection of the mental health conversation that I feel like needs to be talked about a bit more. And would you say in your experience that's, been true?
Totally. I mean, we Asians are not great at talking about mental health. I grew up in a time where I was talking to my cousins back in Singapore, and homophobia was still a really big thing. Being gay, everyone was closeted because being gay outwardly was illegal. So, um, not that I'm I don't identify as queer, but I have so many of my loved ones in my community who do. And so it breaks my heart to think that someone couldn't be exactly who they are because of the way that we are. So we've been taught to closet things in our own way, no matter what it comes down to, especially when it comes to mental health. We don't discuss um, the causes for why we're feeling the way that we're feeling. We don't discuss the pressure that we feel is put upon us or that we take upon ourselves as well. And so I'm an advocate for a conversation. I'm an advocate for bringing these conversations to light and to really have them publicly, because I want to destigmatize what mental health is. Every human on this planet grapples with something at some point, and sometimes people feel very alone in that experience, and they shouldn't, because it's very normal. And I think that if we destigmatize the conversations, then maybe more people can find a way to process what they're going through in a healthy way, and not resort to the more extreme ways that we cope as humans.
And your experiences of your bouts of burnout and depression as well, and a lifetime of learning how to now balance that out. What does sustainable work and or self-care routine look like for you now to make sure you're going okay?
That's a really good question. I think it changes a lot, but there are certain fundamental things that I know of universally helped me. One of them is exercise. It's moving, which was really difficult when I was dealing with burnout because you have no energy, and so expending any energy at all is actually a really difficult thing. But it is a very slow. It has been a very slow process, and in me building towards being able to be far more active. And now I'm really happy to say I still hit fatigue quite quickly, but I have more energy, and I am able to partake in fitness activities that require a fair amount of work from me. So it's taken 10 years to get here, but I'm really happy to be able to balance my life with being able to do things like martial arts and Pilates and just kind of keeping up with my schedule. But yeah, definitely exercise and definitely nutrition as well. I mean, people know me as being someone who eats, really amazing high-end cuisine, and that's what I've been, critiquing and judging for a very long time. And yes, that is one part of it, but it's only a very small part of it. Kind of think about food as nutrition in most parts. So I think about things like being able eating enough protein, which sounds like the most boring subject on earth. And I think anyone over 40 is just now, it's just rammed home that you've got to eat more protein, and it is really boring, but it's real. It's an important part of longevity and being able to maintain muscle mass and all of these things. So I am thinking about the nutritional aspect of my food in many ways. I don't obsess over it because I know I have that predisposition towards eating, just like disordered eating. So I don't want to obsess about it too much, but I do consider just keeping a really balanced diet and rest is the other one, as well as I will never apologize for sleep. If I want to sleep for 13 hours, I'm going to do it. Because there's probably a reason why. It doesn't happen very often, but if I've had a crazy week and I don't have to wake up to an alarm, the greatest luxury on planet Earth for me is being able to sleep until I wake up, whatever that happens to be. If it's 6 hours, if it's 9 hours, I don't put any pressure on myself. I just let myself wake up, and that's a really nice thing to do.
Shifting gears to taste of art. When you signed up to be the judge for this new culinary competition show, how did you approach this commitment differently compared to what you might have done earlier in your career?
This is my first, international assignment when it comes to filming an entire series overseas. So I feel very privileged to be able to come over to Aotearoa and spend an entire month making this show with Vaughan in Tahuna. What sets this show apart is that we're asking supremely talented professional chefs to give us something inspiring and art driven, but we're not really giving them a time limit. We're giving them sort of 8, 9 hours to do things. And so the way it was shot meant that we would sort of start a challenge, start the cooking, and then kind of let them go. And then we judge the next day. So it was a sort of long day, short day kind of process for me, even though I had maybe one day off in the entire month I was away. I still felt like I had a bit of balance, like I could go out and breathe that beautiful Queenstown air and go for a drive
Yes.
or go and exercise. I found a Pilates studio that's down on the Marina in Queenstown, where you just look at the Remarkables as you're, in just epic amounts of pain trying to hold your abs in a particular position. But it was just an absolute treat to be able to mix an intense work schedule with a little bit of balance as well.
Being, Foodorati herself, what stood out to you about the food culture here in Aotearoa?
Oh, I think Aotearoa and Pacifica cuisine in general is extremely underrated globally, and it's making me really happy to see that the world is finally opening their eyes to just the bounty of produce and the capability of its culinary professionals to really showcase what is possible. I mean, for me, some of the best, your kaya moana is like the
Yes.
best in the world. So to be able to eat paua and to be able to have as much kina as I want, and the kina in Aotearoa is so different to Australia. And we're not comparing apples and oranges. We don't want to do that. But I will say, especially for me, being of Chinese background, seafood is such an important part of culture and such a display of prosperity and richness. And if that's the bar, then Aotearoa has set the bar, sky high.
I'm just gonna wrap up now. I do just want to say that throughout the highs and lows of your life, food has been your anchor and almost like a refuge as well, right? So, what would you say your relationship to food is now?
I think my relationship with food will always be complex because it's work and it is life. And I've struggled with it in different stages of my life as well. But I think I'm at a really peaceful point with myself and food. I can judge food for professional purposes. I can set that aside and appreciate eating really simply and living for nutrition as well. So I think it's just an evolving relationship that we each have with food. But I am incredibly grateful to know how to cook, to know how to eat. I think they're some of the greatest joys in life.